Before we get down in the nitty gritty, because you and I always go down the rabbit hole a bit, can we start off for the people that are tuning in that just don't know much at all about Bitcoin?
Yeah.
Or all they know are kind of the seedy stories that sometimes gets bounced around on the internet, and they don't really understand what it is, whether it's old Silk Road stories from years ago, or this or that. For people that maybe are hearing this for the first time, how do you explain Bitcoin?
So Bitcoin is a currency that exists on the internet, that is created on the internet, that really serves the needs of the internet generation. It does not belong to any government. It's not controlled by any bank. Bitcoin isn't a company or product or a service. It's an internet protocol. It's a method of communication, just like we say the web or email, and that doesn't belong to anyone. It's a shared common public good on the internet. Bitcoin is a digital currency and payment system that is a shared good, and it is controlled collectively by the participants in the network. And creating a currency that does not belong to a nation seems weird at first. But then again, we used to have airlines that only existed for one nation and had the flag on the tail, right? Flag carriers, they call them. And phone companies that were monopolies in one nation and had the flag on them. And now that seems absurd. And I think within 20 years, the idea of national currencies as the only option will seem absurd. What Bitcoin is a completely global and open system of money that anyone can participate in without asking permission, without registering for an account or showing ID. All they need to do is download an app. Just like if you want to participate on the web, all you need to do is download a browser. If you want to participate in Bitcoin, all you need to do is download a Bitcoin wallet. And the moment you do so without registering with anyone or creating an account, you can send and receive Bitcoin. And why would you send or receive Bitcoin? Well, for many people who live in Western advanced nations who have debit cards and tap to pay, and it's not really necessary. But in a broader sense, we live in a world that is very fragmented, where money faces borders, very hard borders, strict lines of demarcation between countries and currencies. And you have these national currencies that are badly managed by governments and banks in countries where there is very little difference between a government, a bank, and an organized crime syndicate. All three are the same. The governments are organized crime syndicates.
Zimbabwe,
the banks,
maybe, case in point.
And dozens of countries are like that.
Right.
And so what happens when they have a crisis is they take the entire population hostage with them. They shut down the borders. They create currency controls. You can't withdraw money from the ATMs. You can't exchange money for another currency. You go with the ship and sink down with it. And what's interesting is that Bitcoin is one of those things that actually offers a safe haven in that particular situation. But it also allows people who have never had a bank account to connect to a global financial system simply by downloading an application on a very, very simple smartphone or even using text messaging. And there's more than 4 billion people who are in that situation. So the vast majority of the human population have not no banking, but very limited banking facilities, single currency with strict conditions on what they can import and export. And Bitcoin bypasses all of that. It gives everybody a currency that is open and global. And so that creates some very interesting conditions in the world. It allows us to create a kind of unified financial system that exists outside of the mandates of government, that is completely private and is very empowering for individuals.
And it scares the hell out of governments and banks.
It scares the hell out of governments that find it peculiar to have people in control of their own money, at which point you should really ask yourself, what kind of government is that doesn't believe in freedom of association, freedom of expression, freedom of commerce? That's more of an indictment of that kind of government than it is of Bitcoin. If your government is afraid of Bitcoin, you should ask yourself, what kind of government do I have? Most liberal governments are not afraid of Bitcoin. They see it as an opportunity for growth and jobs, and they call the industry fintech. the cornerstone of technology. And in fact, they should
Yeah.
see it that way.
Fintech, yeah.
This is one of the things that can compete with banks. And banks really need competition, right? They're way too comfortable with their power and established systems, right?
Continue watching this fascinating conversation for free by clicking on the link below to visit our website, learn from the best minds in the world, and connect with a community of passionate people building the best versions of themselves. Just click on the link below, and I'll see you on the inside.